Hey guys, what's up? It's Rain coming in hot with another Multiversus tier list, this time focusing on the best 2v2 characters hands down in the game. Now, this is going to be the best knowledgeable picks for all of you, no matter what tier you currently are at in the game, whether you've been playing since early access, closed alpha, or if you just picked up the game today. So, without further ado, let's dive into the analysis right here and right now. Alright guys, so remember, as we build out this 2v2 tier list, the one main thing that I want to tell you guys initially is that all of the data that has come into building this tier list is based off of the three major things. One, it is pro player experience. So, we obviously have EVO, which is the first official major 2v2 tournament for $100,000 that is going to be going down on August 8th, but throughout that entire time prior to this, we've had a ton of community tournaments and a ton of pro players emerge, not only as the top 2v2 players in the game, but the character they specialize in. And then you also have number two, which is going to be the leaderboard. So in Multiverse itself, there's a whole leaderboard section. You can actually see which characters have been the most successful on 2v2 teams. And then last but certainly not least, just the third thing is going to be the overall utility and kit of the characters that make them a phenomenal 2v2 legend. So without further ado, let's dive into it right now. S tier, and hands down, the number one 2v2 character in the game currently is in fact Velma. Now, again, some of this might come as a bit of a surprise for being the number one initially here, but Velma is just super good, man. Her kit, we talked a lot about 1v1s. Velma's able to win a lot of 1v1 matchups just with phenomenal combo strings through her Sair, through her Dare. But in 2v2s, when you're able to utilize a lot of her projectiles, including her Y special projectile, where she shoots the beam out, does a ton of damage long range, as well as consistently use cooldown reductions for her teammates, heal her teammates by using her light attack alone. It's just, her kit is phenomenal. She is so good at creating space and amazing, absolutely amazing at supporting her teammates by confirming KOs whenever they want to engage a goal in. Because if you hit your teammate with a projectile, right? So with your Y move, your special move ability where she pulls out the megaphone and shoots them, once you do that and your teammate dives into a 2v1 situation, Velma can then spam the heck out of all her words that come out, and they will follow and circle around and hit the teammate. Now though, if the teammate goes into a hardcore engage, those numbers will actually protect and hit the opponents as well as the opponents going in on a super awesome kit. So Velma, hands down the best 2v2 character in the game currently. Freaking phenomenal. All right, next we're gonna go into S tier. It's gonna be Tom and Jerry. So we've talked about this a lot. Tom and Jerry has an extremely high skill ceiling, probably currently in the game the largest skill ceiling as a whole. And again, Tom and Jerry are just one of those characters that they can kind of sit behind more of a tanky forefront character like a Superman or a Garnet or an Iron Giant or even like a Shaggy, right? Where they could just go fishing, throw out the fishing rod, they can immediately shoot Jerry and then get their tennis balls going for super aggro, or they can do the triple dynamite perk, which also builds up a ton of damage as well. Tom and Jerry is able to get KOs extremely early, provide phenomenal support through massive AoE damage early on, and therefore give your team huge stage control. Tom and Jerry 100% in the S tier. Now, the next we're going to be diving into is a little bit different for the S tier, and it's going to be the last character that we have currently for the S tier, but it's going to be Wonder Woman. Now, a big reason why I'm putting Wonder Woman in the S tier is because Wonder Woman has not been complained about at all on Twitter or anything else. And as we know with player first games, obviously the more that a character is complained about in a public aspect, the more likely they are going to address certain nerfs, certain quality of life fixes, remove bugs or exploits that are in the character. So with Wonder Woman, she is a very balanced character and is pretty dang good in ones, but in twos, she has two main special abilities that make her absolutely a must-have pick in any 2v2 comp. And that is her down special, where she pops her shield. It makes it an actual penetrable force that nobody can get through. It's like a full armored attack, but you have movement with it. But it not only gives it for you, but it also gives it to your teammate as well, and you can immediately pop it to save them out of any combo or anything too. It's massive, it's huge, and it creates fantastic engagement and also saving. Then the second step is her lasso. Her lasso is one of the best KO confirm options in her entire kit, if not her best KO confirm option. But in a 2 scenario, she can actually use her lasso on her teammate, pull her teammate closer to her by saving them, and when she does that, she actually gives them armor as well. So basically, it's like a free save again once for your teammate. So fantastic character, super good at putting out damage early on and providing a ton of support with a lot of weight. So The difference with like Wonder Woman and like Rhine Dog, which Rhine Dog is going to be the next one in the A tier, is Wonder Woman weighs more and is able to provide a lot more life save utility, whereas Rhine Dog can do that too. But Wonder Woman is also able to get a lot of KOs, especially with her side special with her shield and her up special with her shield as well. Both unimpenetrable hits that are going to hit early on and absolutely force stage control initially. Wonder Woman, hands down, amazing character. All right, the next one we're going to go into is going to be Rhine Dog. Now, Rhine Dog's support character, and some people might not agree with this. They might put Rhine Dog in the B tier, but the reason why I'm going to say is that if you play Rhine Dog at an extremely high level, so like the top players right now are like Dodo. Dodo's the #1 Rhine Dog in the world. The way Dodo plays Rhine Dog is just massive projectile spam, so down special with the fireball, shooting out the electric bolts, and then being able to get that tether on your teammate where you can pop it and save their life instantaneously. Rhine Dog is just so good at pretty much creating a very annoying atmosphere that makes it difficult for opponents to get comfortable to set up combos and KO confirm options. So just because of that alone, Rhine Dog is already in the A tier. Now, obviously, a Rhine Dog, his flaws, or his flaws kind of get to him, are his weight is he's the 3rd lightest character in the game, so he gets KO'd early, and he also has the 2nd largest hitbox in the game behind Iron Giant. Now, on top of that though, Rhine Dog does have the best spike in the game, hands down. It has one of the most forces, if not the most force. It covers the most range of area, and you can get super early KOs off stage with Rhine Dog. So that is why we have him in the A tier, and that is also why he's not in the S tier though, is because he does have flaws, and there are basically between Velma and Wonder Woman, those are 2 better options that can do similar things to Rhine Dog without risking the KO confirm of yourself being eliminated early on. Now, next we're going to be diving into is going to be Bugs Bunny. So a lot of people might say that Bugs should be S tier. Again, the reason I'm not putting Bugs at S tier here is because after EVO, Player First Games has talked about they're going to be doing a lot of nerfs and a lot of readjustments. And Bugs is the top character in 1v1s, the top character in 2v2s. And Bugs is going to get his kit, severely reworked, right? And I'm not saying in the sense of where like new moves, different stuff and all that jazz, but like a big part of Bugs' success is there's a glitch right now where you can shoot up 2 rockets. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Bugs' Bat Up has some of the most crazy force in the game. They've already addressed they're going to nerf that. And they're also going to be probably nerfing his Sair and his down air as well. So he's still a really good character because he has projectiles and he has very, very good KO confirm options for even early KOs or using the hammer off stage for, getting KO confirms whenever somebody's overextending. Bugs is really good, but because of the potential nerfs that are coming, we got to put him in an A tier. So we just don't know what it's going to look like when we get our final form for Bugs. And again, this is after the most recent patch. So that's why I'm giving you guys, hands down, the most official and up-to-date tier list for you guys to invest your time in. Next is going to be Iron Giant. So Iron Giant, I'm keeping Iron Giant in the A tier. Iron Giant's been pretty much controlled to a point now where he doesn't have a lot of his BS, right? You can't just spend ground pound. You can't just spam, your down air for just consistent hit stacks that would just confirm KOs instantly 0 to death. Now you can't do that. So you might be thinking like, well, Iron Giant has a mass hitbox. He doesn't have a lot of his cheese. There's no way he's still good. His special alone, where it makes him invulnerable, and it also gives your teammate the opportunity to hop inside Iron Giant to stack and just put up a ton of damage completely safe and free if you pop your special and are impenetrable. It just makes Iron Giant so freaking good. It makes him so good in 2s to where pretty much if you play him correctly, there's no way possible that your team won't get stage control. And the size of his hitbox when he's attacking, if anybody plays above you or somebody's trying to go off stage, you can pretty much guarantee yourself an Uri KO every single time with Iron Giant. So because of that, Iron Giant is going to be in the A tier after we get the patch after EVO. I'll rework it. I'll kind of see maybe if he goes up to S, maybe he goes down to B or C. But for right now, I like him being in the A tier because I do feel like his kit's kind of closer to being done, but still not enough. And again, for everyone wondering why LeBron isn't in this, again, LeBron's an experimental character. LeBron just came out. And he has a lot of busted stuff still. They're going to have to work on that, adjust that. So I feel there's really no point in putting him in tier list. As of right now, he's S tier if you want to use him. He's probably the 2nd best behind Velma, just with his basketballs and utility. But, he's obviously going to get changed. Things are going to shift around for him. So I feel like there's no point in me committing into that for you guys right here, right now. So next one we're going to go to, in a phenomenal 2v2 character in the A tier, is going to be the last character in the A tier, is going to be Shaggy. Now, this one, again, might be an unpopular opinion. I personally believe Shaggy is one of the strongest characters in the game. Just his side air special where he does like the Shaolin kick across stage, his perk that gives him Ultra Instinct after 100 damage, then he can confirm KOs with his uppercut, and his ability to spawn sandwiches pretty much infinitely as well makes him the perfect 2v2 teammate for someone like Velma, someone like Wonder Woman, someone like Tom and Jerry, Rhine Dog, or Bug. So like pretty much any projectile heavy character, Shaggy is an awesome person to use because I think he's the third heaviest character in the game. I think he's either third or fifth. I think he's third right behind Superman. He's the third heaviest character in the game. His KO confirm options are extremely powerful and can eliminate characters very early. And he's also able to establish priority and shift the battle immediately with that level 100 perk, moving him into Ultra Instinct. Shaggy, huge damage output getter, fantastic character. He's not going to get nerfed or tweaked anytime soon. No one's complaining about him, you know, unless at a high level couple pros are. Personally, I think he's a bit overtuned right now, but for the overall player basis, he is one of their recommended characters. So usually when it's a recommended character, it's people that you want to play consistently to learn more about the game itself. And he just has super easy mechanics, probably the easiest character to pick up and be good with off the rip. So Shaggy is going to be our final A tier today. Next one we're going to be moving into is going to be Superman. Supes is interesting. The reason I have Superman at B tier instead of S and A tier is because Superman is very dependable on his teammate. So like, for examples, a perfect teammate for Superman is either going to be Velma or it's either going to be Rhine Dog. And the reason I'm saying those two is because Superman has a perk with his ice projectile, so his neutral special, where he shoots the ice out of his mouth, where if you stack the correct perks initially, you can actually freeze opponents almost instantaneously if you time up your moves correctly together, right? And so if you don't know, if you stacked up Superman's, you know, someone into a freeze, then you hit him with a full neutral special attack, Superman can KO somebody pretty much if they're at about 40 health minimum. He can get a KO instantly off somebody that's off a fully charged light attack into somebody who's frozen. So just because of that alone, obviously it puts him towards the S or A tier, but where his flaws kind of get at him a little bit is that obviously he has the shortest range in the game if you don't count his side special and then his aerial side special, and a lot of his attacks are based on getting prio for armored attacks, which is really good in ones, right? It's really good in ones because most characters are only going to be able to hit you once before you pop out your special, so the armor breaks and you can still hit him with your attack. But in twos, you're usually getting hit with 2, 3, 4 attacks the exact same time. And so when that happens, it nullifies a lot of the armored attacks for Superman and really eliminates kind of the most important part of his kit, which is being able to maintain stage control, hold his ground, and then absolutely contest anybody that tries to approach within him. So because of that, that's why Superman is at a B tier instead of an A and S tier, because yes, he can be extremely powerful, he can have phenomenal utility, and he can get you early KOs, but if you're playing against a very knowledgeable team, they can pretty much take him out of the game completely and limit him to only like 100 damage each match. So Superman, B tier. Next we're going to be having is going to be Jake the dog. So Jake, I have Jake at B tier. Jake is a really good character. Jake just doesn't really have anything busted, okay? So like, again, like all these characters I talk about here, pretty much all of them have like extremely good assets in twos, special perks that work for twos, abilities that are based on 2v2 gameplay, where like Jake doesn't really have that. Jake is just kind of a natural bruiser that is able to, you know, maintain stage control with his ground pound, with his like Kirby down special. He turns into a house, smashes people, but also uses Sair. But the one really good thing about Jake is he's probably the best character at getting KOs when your team needs them the most. His offstage Sair is unpunishable. His giant axe where he goes down with his neutral light and swings all the way up, that's unpunishable. And it can just maintain kills very early on, especially if you're playing against aggressive people. So because of that, we have Jake in the B tier. Next person we're going to have coming into this is going to be Garnet. So you might be asking yourself, Rain, why would you take Jake over Garnet? Now again, it's just because Garnet just really doesn't have a lot of top tier gameplay. Like there's not even really a handful of pros at all that play Garnet at a very high level in twos. And it's just because, again, Garnet's a good character. Garnet has some impenetrable armored moves, but she's kind of very similar to Superman in the sense of if you can't get out Garnet's moves, if you can't get out those armored attacks, it's really hard for her to hit damage unless she's using her side special gauntlets where they shoot out, but those have a time delay. And then you also have your down special, which teleports you back to your orb, and gets you prio back in the map. But pretty much without those two, she's very dependent on her heavy attack. Now, the reason she's at B tier though instead of C tier is because she does have one of the best abilities in the game for negating projectile characters. So characters like Velma, Tom and Jerry, Rhine Dog, Bugs. Her neutral special creates this kind of like dancing force field where she gets jiggy, she gets down with it, and every projectile that enters this force field is immediately stopped in its tracks, and it can actually be hit back towards your opponent, and it will become your team's projectile. So because of that ability alone, it makes her still a very viable option and a good option to use in twos. But ultimately, besides that, that's pretty much the main kind of juice she's got in her kit. So that's why we have her at the B tier. All right, next we're going to be looking at is Finn. Finn in the B tier. Finn's just so good, man. Finn is just so good all around. Again, he doesn't really have anything special for like a twos kit. He's just a very good aggro character that can build up a ton of damage early on. You get extra coins with all the double hits you're able to get on both the opponents with his prio moves through his specials, so that way you get upgrades faster. And he's very good at getting KO confirm options through either his up recovery or even his ground special spike off the stage. We all know it, we've all seen it. His hitboxes are pretty busted when it comes to special moves, and he's also one of the only characters in the game that can actually move left and right horizontally while maintaining a heavy attack. So what that means is, if you see him where he has the high five, he can just run back and forth with the high five. If you see him where he's dragging the sword with the purple thing, he can literally just move around the map and then use that exactly when the moment's right, counting the player's dodges to get the confirm. The reason why I don't have him above Shaggy here is because, again, I feel like Finn is going to get finely tuned here pretty soon. He's definitely probably the second, I'd probably say top three most complained about characters right now are Bugs, Velma, and then, Bugs, Velma, and then Finn. Probably Finn, actually. It probably goes Bugs, Finn, then Velma, to be honest. The reason I have Velma still here, though, is because no matter what they do to Velma's kit, I don't see, there's no way she won't be a viable. She's definitely going to be the best just support, just with all her bonuses, her projectiles. No matter how they rework stuff, she's going to be the best pretty much always. But with Finn, again, he's just one of those characters who is very overtuned right now, plays very well, and can just pretty much absolutely dominate matches solo, even if he has to. So that's why I have him in the B tier. All right, moving on into the C tier now. All right, well, actually, one more B tier. We have Batman. Batman's gonna be our final B tier. Really good, obviously really good character with the grapple initially as well, and also with the batarang. But again, currently with the bugs for Batman, he's just not a very good character to use consistently in twos. If you haven't seen it, there's a bug currently with the grapple that they've tried to address, but there's not gonna get a patch till after Evo, where his grapple will actually like send him all the way off the stage and eliminate him, even if he's at 0 health. It just bugs out sometimes. You automatically lose a stock. So for that alone, losing a stock off a bug is like, you know, atrocious. You don't want to do that. His batarangs very useful, helps your team get stage control and maintain aggro. His smoke's also very good as well, and he has a pretty good KO confirm kit for being a vertical bruiser that's able to get KOs early on. But again, they've talked about it. They're going to rework him a little bit. They're going to fine-tune him a little bit more to kind of tone him down, as he's one of the fast characters in the game. So because of that, we can't really commit to Batman as a solid twos player thus far. All right, moving on into the C tier. You're going to have Steven Universe. Now, I feel bad because Steven is just kind of one of those, Steven's just a bottom tier character all around. He's extremely difficult to learn. His kit and ability is super reliable on his walls that he's able to place and then build up high damage combos. And it's just, it takes it for like what a Shaggy does, or like what a Finn does, or like a Wonder Woman does. It just takes Steven like 500% more effort and time to be able to do exactly what they're already able to do. Does that make sense? So that's kind of why Steven's at the lower tier of this aspect. He is a good character and he can be utilized well. Big shout out to Flash Tyree. That's the #1 Steven player in the world, and we've seen Steven do very well with that character. But again, there's even a little bit of a bug right now where his nair doesn't hit consistently, and it's just, Steven's just, again, Steven's a good character. He's a fun character to play, but he has a very high skill ceiling. And until you master that high skill ceiling, you're not going to be able to compete against all these other choices that you could be using for twos. All right, next up is going to be Arya. Arya is going to be in the C tier for twos. And again, this is just simply for the fact, okay, I will say this. So Arya could be C tier or A tier. The reason not B tier is because there's no in between. There's no in between for Arya. Either you're going to snowball with your team and you're going to get like a 2-stock KO early on in the very beginning, or you're going to get eliminated early because you have the lowest weight in the game, and your team's going to fall down to a deficit and have to try out of the hole. Now, the reason why it's possibly A or C is because whichever spectrum you're able to hit on that is going to decide the outcome of your match, where Arya has the best aerial kit in the game. She's able to confirm KOs super, super fast. And when you have a teammate that's playing well and knows to put the characters in the air, Arya can immediately move into stacks and get free KO confirms by using her double recovery. If you don't know, her recovery not only hits once, but it hits twice. And if you have the dagger in them, you can actually string it up and do like a 4 or 5 hit combo to basically KO anyone out the top of the map once they're at about 60 to 70 damage. So, but again, if you're not able to do that with Arya, she pretty much becomes, I mean, borderline useless, to put it bluntly, in twos. Especially if you're going against any of these other top tier characters, you're just going to get absolutely just destroyed by projectiles continuously. You're going to get a ton of damage build up against you, and then you're going to get KO'd at like 80, 90 health every time. So that's the reason we have Arya at the C tier. She's extremely high risk, high reward, but also if that risk and reward doesn't pay out, you're definitely going to be losing, and you're going to be losing stocks very fast and early. All right, last person in the C tier we're going to have is Harley Quinn. Now, some people might be a little bit upset with this, that I have Harley this low. Again, Harley is one of those characters that is going to get buffed. Again, Harley is just very, very slow. Her kit doesn't really have much prio, or there's massive active input between the moves. And because of that, there's just better options to use rather than Harley. Again, her projectiles are good, but in a 2v2 matchup, it's very hard for her to throw her projectiles out efficiently without jumping in the air. And so once Harley jumps in the air and tries to throw out projectiles, other teams will swarm, but they'll try to KO Harley very, very fast. Harley is the fourth or third lightest character in the game. Reindog and Harley like right next to each other around the same amount. And so because of that, when she already has to put herself in an aerial disposition to start using a lot of her projectiles, she's going to immediately get targeted and can lose a stock very, very fast. But, you know, besides that too, the one really good thing about her kit, again, similar to Arya, is her aerial punish with her baseball bat consistently, and then her up air where she shoots the little gun up too. Both can be utilized very well, but again, high risk, high reward characters. And because of that, that's why we have them in the C tier, because there's just so many other legends that can basically do the same thing, but that don't have as high as a risk. Then last but certainly not least, in the D tier is going to be Taz. Now, we saw Taz. Taz was really like never built to be like a hardcore twos player. You can definitely tell by his kit and how it was made. You could see like, okay, this is kind of the first official character that Player First Games has put out that like looks like is super focused on like a 1v1 spectrum. Obviously with Taz having his, you know, his tornado being completely gutted, everything being kind of shifted about this character, massive cooldowns coming out on a lot of different moves as well, and just overall the force of the tornado not being nearly as good as it was, it kind of put Taz in a very weird spot, because in twos, when Taz was busted, quote unquote, you'd see pretty much how it would go was Taz would just kind of jump up, do his down special where he shoots out apples out of his mouth, use a lot of stairs, then try to rotate with dares, and then use the dog pile. So the move of the smoke comes out, everybody's running around. And then once both of the enemies were around like, you know, 60, 70 health, then Taz would begin to spam the tornado move over and over again until it finally hits, because there was no cooldown. And then when that would happen, they would get basically a free double kill pretty much every time the opponents were at 89 health. Now, the difference is Taz isn't able to spam that tornado nearly as much. And when the tornado hits, it doesn't have nearly as much knockback force as well. So basically what's happened is they've taken out the main part of Taz's kit that made him very viable in twos, and they pretty much gutted it, making Taz pretty much just a 1v1 bruiser, but has very limited range, does not have any prio attacks, except for his shielded neutral where he pukes. He like chugs a bucket and pukes on you. And so without that, it makes him a very interesting choice to use. That just is nowhere near as good as pretty much any of the other options as well. So that's going to wrap it up for our 2v2 Multiversus tier list. Again, this is based off of success with pro players in recent tournaments, leaderboards, and overall experience play rate in the community as well. Love y'all. I appreciate y'all. If y'all like this, please drop a like, a comment, and a sub. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what other videos you guys want to see. Daily uploads for Multiversus all day, every day, baby. Love y'all. Stay lit. Peace.